All right, man. Welcome back to Talk With Tay podcast, man. This is the kickoff of season 2. That's right. We made it to season 2, man, and I'm just grateful to be here. You know what I mean? When I started this journey, it was more of a therapy for me, like a diary in a sense. But I never thought that it would, be something where I could use my voice to help others. Yeah, man, it's the first episode of season 2. It's 2026, and we back here with some different perspectives, a lot of clarity, a lot of healing, a lot of time spent alone for a while. You know what I mean? There were some things that I just needed. I needed to get right within. This is everlasting journey. You know what I mean? But I kind of reached a breaking point, recently, I would say. So it's just been me and myself, you know what I mean, trying to understand everything in this season that I'm in currently. But yeah, man, I'm today, I want to talk about how, recently I joined a grief share group, right? And I'm gonna be honest, that's probably the best thing that I've done uh during this journey was join a grief share group. That's the best thing that I've done so far. I'm 4 years in, and I've never felt so good about something until I joined this group. And I just completed the group. I joined late, but I did end up earning my certificate after attending, 5 sessions. So I'm just proud of myself for taking that step. Um, it was something that I was putting off for a very long time. You know what I mean? I was scared. I was scared to face it. And I had someone recommend it to me, just like people recommend a lot of things to you to try to help you. But at that time, I just couldn't, I couldn't see it. I didn't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was that fear of facing the reality of what I was really going through. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like a normal person. So I would always avoid it. I signed up a little over a year ago. The people reached out to me and everything, but I couldn't get the strength to just show up, So, and that happened over time, within the last year or so. That happened a few times. I signed up a few times, did all the information, paperwork and all that shit, and I just never showed up, man. It was a lot of things though. It wasn't just fear, it was anger, just that sadness, just really living in it. And, that's what was stopping me at the time. I always say that the timing of things is always works out the way it's supposed to be, right? I do think about if I joined sooner, I probably would feel a lot better about, my journey. But I joined at the right time. I can definitely say it. I joined at the right time. I had to go through the things that I was going through, with others, with myself. I had to go through those things. I had to be uncomfortable for a very long time. Very, like, a strong piece of discomfort though, not just like it got really, really tough for me. So, I needed that, and I'm glad that I had to, withstand those things and go through that adversity. But yeah, man, thus far, this is the greatest thing that I've done. It made me really like joining a grief share group really made me feel like for once that I wasn't tripping, that I was a normal person, bro, just going through a very tough loss. It's nothing more than that. And for so long, I felt so, just I felt I didn't feel like a normal person. I felt like I wasn't supposed to feel the things that I was feeling from losing my mother. And joining this group really made me realize that, man, you really wasn't tripping. You know what I mean? Like yes, you're angry, you're sad, you're really feeling it, right? This loss hurts you. And I was going through situations where I couldn't have a bad day around people. I couldn't be sad. I couldn't I couldn't feel nothing. And I started to question myself for a long time, man, over and over. Like, am I tripping? You know what I mean? Like am I something wrong with me? Am I crazy? Like I started to question myself because the thing about grief is it's not a timeline, bro. Like this is life. It's permanent. It's a very permanent thing. And you really just learn to adjust to it. You don't really, you never heal from it. You never get over it. I don't care what anyone tells you or tries to say. That's no. You're never gonna get over it. There's gonna be things like, for example, man, like when I have kids, right? Like there's gonna be some wounds there for me just having a child, right? My mother is not here. My parents, I mean, not my parents. I'm gonna be a parent. My child won't have grandparents. You know what I mean? That's a tough thing to deal with. To know that that's going to happen to me. You know what I mean? I know it's already, it's permanent already. So it's gonna be a lot of things. Her birthdays and every holidays. It's always gonna be there, right? But this journey just has just allowed me to appreciate the journey for itself and nothing more because you have to walk it, man. And I'm grateful and I'm blessed enough to be able to face it my way and my way only. Like I said, it's, people put timeline on things. And, after year one, I had people looking at me like, okay, you should be here now. Okay. Year two. All right. You should be here now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be crying like this way. Year three. Like, it was the same old shit. And I was just like, wow, man. Like, only if people, only if people really knew what this felt like, And that's the thing that, people have to realize, man. It's you won't, this is one of those things where you won't get it until it happens to you, man. And I truly do, I do feel sorry for some people, who have to experience this because it's gonna come. You're gonna lose your favorite person one day in life. And I just, it has to happen. But yeah, man, I finally felt normal after joining Grief Share. I finally felt normal. My first session, I almost made that decision again to back out and, not face my fears. When I woke up that day, I was looking for every excuse to not go. The Grief Share that I joined is at a church, a local church. And yeah, man, I was looking for every reason to not go. I was, just scared. You know what I mean? I was really just fearful of feeling like a unicorn, and not knowing what to expect. You don't know. I don't know what this is. I've never, people see me do this and they think, that I find other resources to help myself, but it's really been a struggle. Like this is something that I do and I do it and I go about my day. I don't really, use this as just the only tool, So I got up that day, man, and I drove to that church. It was about 20 minutes away. And when I stepped in there, man, I instantly, I'm the youngest person in there. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing a lot of people with a lot more life experience than me, like way more than me, right? And I'm the youngest one in there. So instantly I'm like, wow. So, that's already a little not uncomfortable, but it puts you in a different perspective when you think about how, people, my peers, we don't, people not knowing how to deal with things like this, deal with grief or deal with me, watch me go through it. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at all these people. It's about 15 people in there. So we did an icebreaker and I'm watching people, and they sharing their experiences. There's a lot of people in there that lost their moms too. A lot of people. Yeah, people lost, their nephews, their children. You know what I mean? So, and then when people start to share, man, it was, I felt that. I felt them. You know what I mean? And these are, like I said, these are people with so much more experience than me that have lived longer than me. And they're expressing exactly how I feel when it comes to anger, sadness, people not understanding, people saying bad things about you. You feel me? Like trying to paint a picture about you just because you're dealing with the loss. And they all feel, and it's people in there, man, who are still grieving people that's been gone way a lot longer than 4 years, and they still have those feelings. And when it was my time to share, I just let it out. I didn't care no more. Like I didn't care about feeling. I didn't care about facing that fear no more. I was like, I gotta let it. I gotta let it out. It's time. Like it's time. Like this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Like God led me to this specific grief share. Um, and yeah, and I just let it out. The tears started coming. It took me a while to even, I was stuttering and stuff like that. And it took me a while to get out what I was dealing with. And I never felt so welcomed in my life when it comes to sharing something, man. It was a truly like this amazing experience, man. And there's a lady in the group, her name is Miss Sheila, and I can see her emotions. They are really heavy when I'm talking specifically, right? They're like she was letting it out. You know what I mean? And she ended up speaking after me, and she told me, she was like, you saved me today. She was talking to me. She said, I saved her that day because she's never seen anyone that's my age be able to express in that way, especially a man, a black man. Now, granted, this is an all black grief share group. There's 3 men in the entire group, including myself. So you get what I'm saying? And she has a son who's struggling. She told me that he was struggling with grief, and she's been trying to get him to, speak up about it, but it's so hard, man. Like, look how long it took me to even get to that point to even go to the grief share group. You know what I mean? So she was expressing to me about that. And she said I gave her hope because she wants her son, to be able to get to that point. And he's a little older than me, but still that right there should show you everything that should be an example right there of just how hard this shit is. That should show you how hard this is, man. This is the hardest thing I've ever there's nothing else that I'll probably ever go through in life as hard as this, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a very challenging walk of life. It's very isolating. I've been by myself for the last few months. And granted, I'm choosing this because it's grief just changes everything about how you function, man. It just rewires your entire life. And you steady trying to adjust, man, every single day, bro. There's things that you won't even understand that you're doing differently or that you don't even do anymore until you just look up one day and you just, you steady trying to fill pieces, bro. And it's like a fat puzzle, like a big old puzzle. And you just steady trying to put little small little pieces into that puzzle every day for the rest of your life. That's how I would explain it, and it's, man, you just see everything for what it is. That's the phase that I'm in, and this grief share group has allowed me to understand that, I might have been angry these last few years. I might have pushed people away, and I can hold myself accountable. You know what I mean? But the one thing that I just don't appreciate these last few years is just how people made me feel, just for feeling what I'm supposed to feel, which is sadness, which is grief, man. That's what grief is about. Like, you're going to feel these things, especially if you're close. I lost my mother. Like, that connection, that DNA is embedded, bro. Like she birthed me. She almost died while giving birth to me. Why wouldn't I be fucked up about this? Why wouldn't I be sad about it? So that's what I don't appreciate about this journey that I've dealt with. But at the same time, though, I do appreciate it because it really showed me how strong I am. Because there are people, man, who grieve and they crash out like 1,000%. And this, I'm not bashing them or nothing like that, but people lose their mind literally, bro. Like literally, bro. You hear I've heard so many stories about people just going off the deep edge, like the deep end. And I honestly, it was times where I didn't see a way out, you know what I mean? But I still, I'm still doing, I'm still here, I'm still present. And I didn't give myself enough credit, these last few years, about how much I'm progressing and how much I'm adjusting to life now, knowing that this is my new normal, right? And it's a good and a bad thing because, I get to reach people, I get to reach others. And it's also like a every time somebody deal with me now, it's always I feel like I walk on eggshells with people and people walk on eggshells with me because they don't it's like they don't even know how to gauge me at a at certain times, you know what I mean? It's think everything has to be about my mom dying or think that they just have to talk about something like that. But no, like I'm a normal person still, bro. Like the people that know me, you feel me? Like, but that's the thing about it though. People feel like they have to, just walk that walk with you when you really don't have to do that, man. I ain't looking for nothing. I'm just fucked up about it. Like, and I'ma always be sad about it, bro. Like, I've done so many great things since my mother died, bro. Like, you don't think I think about her not being here to, congratulate me or anything like that. So that's what I be, that's what I be yeah, that's what I think about all the time. Just thinking about life and what truly matters to me. I realized that the last few years, a lot of things that I thought mattered, none of that shit matters. And I'm just glad I went through it. I really am. I'm glad I went through it. Like, I mean, I lost myself from dealing with people, dealing with one person in particular. I lost myself, and it's taken me a while, to regain that back on top of grieving. You know what I mean? So it's an everyday journey. That's all I'll say. It's an everyday journey, but man, I've connected with the folks in my grief share group so much, man. They're super supportive. They're nice. Like shout out to all of them, man. I truly like. I joined the program late, so I was only in the program for a month, and I can honestly say I love all of them, bro. Like I truly do. Like I love all of them. Grief is such a small but big thing. You know what I mean? Like so many people deal with it and so many people feel I think everybody feels the same way about it when you truly grieve. There's a difference between knowing someone that passed away and you like, damn. But when you grieving, man, it's mm, you hear that saying like right, everybody grieves, differently, right? That's very true. Everybody grieves differently, but also everybody grieves. There's a lot of similarities in people's experiences. It always ties back to being misunderstood, um, feeling stuck, people trying to project things on you, trying to tell you what you need and everything like that when they don't even know. Like how are you gonna know? So it's a walk. It's a journey for sure. And I'm just I'm glad to just be back and continue to express my journey, man, because this is wow, like this is really a long this is gonna be something I'm gonna be dealing with for the rest of my life, bro. And I think about the footprint that I'll leave, right? Like think about that for a second. Like I've been going through this for this last 4 years, and I'm just like thinking about how one day I'm gonna look back at all of this. I'm gonna look back at everything. I'm gonna just look back at it, and I'll be able to share this with my kids. My kids will be able to know, who their dad was. That's kind of where I'm at in life, like leaving something for others. It's definitely an interesting space to be in, but it's like, you know, like I said, I found again what really matters to me in life. I lost that for the last few years. I lost it because I thought something was wrong with me. Like truly, I thought something was wrong with me because that's what people were saying. You're not supposed to be mad. You're not supposed to cry. Stop crying. Like she's dead. Stop crying. People said that to me, bro. People told me I needed medicine and shit like that. Or you need to go to a hospital. Like, bro, what is you know what I mean? That don't even people just were saying stuff to me and I questioned myself. So I'm just glad that, you know, God removed all of that shit from me, from my life. To be honest with you. He removed it so I can, you know, so I can continue to walk in these shoes. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. But yeah, man, I'm glad I joined the grief share. I'm glad that I'm sitting with myself right now. I ain't really been around, working, acting, you know, uh, traveling here and there. You know what I mean? Just for work mainly, but I just been by myself, man. Just trying to stay cool. It's a lot of things, that's going good in my life. I don't have no complaints, but I've just been struggling to um, find meaning in doing the things that I'm meant to do. You know what I mean? And this is one of them too. Like, it took me. I ain't been to the studio, bro. I ain't been in here in like shit. I don't even know. It's probably since November. Like, if I'm being honest, right now it's February right now. So yeah, I ain't been in here. Feel me since November, and that was the last time I recorded anything or posted anything. So yeah, man. I'm just in a very fresh perspective phase right now, where I see things for what it is. I see people for what it is, and it's okay to grieve. You know what I mean? I would never let anyone steal that shit from me again. I'm glad it happened, but I would never let it happen again. Yeah. But yeah, man, season 1. Ah, shit, I'm tripping. Season 2, episode 1. We back, man. It's gonna be, I'm just excited for the journey. You know what I mean? Never giving up, never quitting. And yeah, man, make sure you just tap in with me on all platforms, man. You can hit me on my personal IG if that's what you do, TikTok, YouTube. Yeah, man. So all right, man. I'm out. I appreciate y'all again, man. Just appreciate y'all for rocking with me still, even when I don't do content, nothing like that. Like still being able to reach people, that's important to me because, you know, I can help. I might not be able to help everyone, but I can help because a lot of people went through the same things that I did, and I have experience to be able to pass to someone else, and that's really what it's all about for me. So just happy to be in this position. Yeah, man. We out.